We're live.
Okay, you are now live.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Welcome everybody to our October 21st McKenzie School District Board of Directors meeting. We missed last month due to the fire, so we've got quite a bit of business to do tonight, and hopefully we can get through it pretty unscathed. I also know, just for those viewers out there, if there are any, that several of us are on kind of iffy internet because the infrastructure in the valley right now is not so great. So if we disappear, I apologize, and we'll try and get back on, those of us individually. Okay, so I call this meeting to order at 5:37 p.m. And Pledge of Allegiance. And I think Wendy's got a flag somewhere. There we go. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United
States of America,
to
to the
the
republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we move on to consent agenda, I would like to amend the agenda by adding an action item 5, our resolution 20-J, which you guys should have gotten a rough draft of that last night and a final copy this afternoon. But if we could go ahead and add that to the action item, then we can move forward to consent for the, or excuse me, to approve the agenda and the consent items. Did I do that right, Wendy? All right, very nice. Okay. So anybody want to move to?
So I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, so James moved to approve the agenda as amended, and Melissa seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Quick question, do we need to move to amend the agenda as you stated? Seems like we do, right?
Yes, yeah, we do need to do that. I thought that we just did.
Well, that was the consent agenda.
Got it. Okay, so let's do a move to amend the agenda to add action item number 5, resolution 20-J.
Did you move it? I'll second if you just moved.
I just moved. I'll just say that.
Okay.
I just moved.
I second.
So I moved to amend the agenda. James seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So moving on to interview the, hang on, let me get my papers here. Interview Elaine for our empty board seat, which I'm not sure what board seat number is. Number 4. So, okay, so to do that, we're going to use, Jelaine, we're going to use the long questions.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody have a copy of that?
What was on the application, correct?
I think
Or
so.
are you talking to your guy? Okay.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start with question 1, and then I guess we'll attempt to do this as a round robin on the board members. And there are, Elaine, there are 8 questions.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure, and either Lane or Wendy or Nancy, after the interview, do we just go ahead and discuss just in this venue and then vote?
Yeah, this is the really awkward, you have to discuss it in front of them because it's a public meeting.
Right. Okay.
So Tim, before you get started, can we outline the order then? Is it you, me, I'm trying to hook on here, Alyssa,
mean the round
Melissa,
robin part?
Patience. Yeah, I'm just thinking the order.
Okay, so I'll go first, and James, Alyssa,
Who would have?
and then
I was
Melissa.
gonna say who
Who would we have gotten the questions from? The interview
Yeah,
questions?
Yeah, I'm not finding the questions.
There.
The link that you sent, it links to the oath.
Oh, so then I sent another,
Tim,
but I can.
I'm gonna
I
have
can
you
shoot
skip
that
me,
out to
though.
you guys again real quick.
You want to skip?
because it's too loud in here.
That's good. I got you.
So let me do this real quick, guys, and then I'll do this.
Tim, I'm going to step away for a second while I just printed these out so I can actually look at them.
Okay. Lane, you're resending.
Yes, give me a second
Okay.
here.
So, oh, okay.
Are you unmuted?
Oh, I found it.
I-
It's
I
the right
origin-
link that in the updated one. Yep.
Yeah, and then I just resent it too. If anybody wants to got your email open, it'll be there too. Yeah,
I think I killed it. Sorry, Lane.
What?
Here it is.
You're not muted.
You know, patients. The comms are always the first to go. They're always the first to go. You guys are doing an incredible job here in conducting business, doing an interview via the internet with spotty connections. Just realize what the
Oh,
miracle it is that you guys are doing this right now.
And I don't have my laptop. My laptop got eaten somewhere. So I'm on my cell phone and I'm trying to find the file. I found the file, but I have to go between my camera and the document. So Tim, just tell me what number I am and I'm ready to go.
Okay. So it'll be Tim to James to Alyssa to Patience.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll do the round robin that way.
Got
So Elaine. Hi. First question is, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are interested in filling the open school board seat.
Well, I worked for the school district from 1999 to 2010, and which is also about the same years that my son attended McKenzie School District. And I've always been very interested in what's going on in this community, and especially with the students and families and staff. And at this point in my life, I've got some time, and I think I have the experience, and I think I have some knowledge that I can contribute that would be well fitting for the school board position.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, and I've been living in this community for 25 years, so
Wow.
a long time.
James, you're up whenever.
Taking notes here. Okay. Welcome, Elaine. Thank you for your interest. Can
Uh-huh.
you give us an example of a time when you had a great idea for a committee or a volunteer group that you're part of? And how did you go about selling that idea?
Well, if you guys, I'm sure you've all been able to see the application and such, and so you kind of know what
Hold
I
on.
did.
Hey, Melissa, can you mute?
Melissa?
You just left.
We're getting you. I'm sorry, Elaine. Hang on a sec.
Okay.
Melissa, can you hit mute? There you go. Perfect. Okay, go ahead, Elaine. Sorry.
That's okay. So in the position, my original position for at the school district was with the Family Resource Center. And then we also then received a 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, which was the first grants to come out through the federal government for after school programming. And I got that position also. And in that position, it was all about community school and building a community school. And using the resources in the community. So one of the first things that we did was we partnered with Lane Arts Council and we knew we had a lot of creative people up in the valley. And so we got all the artists and different craftspeople together to come together and support the school in doing art programming in the school, which at that time and as now was being severely cut. And so they, and it's still around today. You still see it in the fall arts festival that they do and such. That was the beginnings. And what they did is we would bring artists into the classrooms and in the after school programming around the community. And they are also doing a large fundraising that also brought art programming to the school. So that was probably one of the first things that I did that was a community organization, community collaboration. And if I step back a little bit from that, the Family Resource Center is all about community school and getting community activity together and getting people involved with the school, even if they don't have children in the school or even before the children come to the schools, like after school, or like our toddler groups and such like that was all what I started with the Family Resource Center, getting community involvement, getting kids ready to learn.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What particular strengths will you bring to this school board?
I think one of the biggest strengths I'll bring is that I understand how the school board and how a district works. I guess you guys could say, I'm Lacey, or Lacey was me, or I don't know how you do that, but I've presented to the school board many times. I was a part of the administrative team for the district, so I understand how a school board works. And I also understand how this community works and what this community values are, what the community is like. Because I live here, I raised my child here. So I think that those are things that I can bring. There's going to be a very little learning curve as far as how things work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In patience number 4.
Have to unmute here. 1 second. And then, Elaine, how do you view the board's role versus the administration's role in running the school district?
Well, first of all, I think the school board should be there. Well, there's a number of reasons why they have to be there, but one of them is, I really believe, is to support the staff and the administration. The superintendent and administration really needs support and the backing of a school board. Also, I think it's very important for them to have a good community liaison, and I think that's the school board. And I think the school board being able to communicate clearly what the district is doing, clearly what the district needs are, and then gather information that they can then bring back and discuss as a school board as to what the community needs.
Okay.
So let me back up. I just want to follow through. I don't believe the school board should be in the day-to-day operation of a school. They should be there to support what the administration is doing and to gather information and so that they can then do that support. But the day-to-day processes is not, I believe, a school board job.
As an individual school board member, how would you handle a situation where the board takes a position which you do not agree with? And second, how about if that position was something which you actively campaigned against?
Well, there's a reason why there's 7 school board members, and everyone's going to have a different point of view, but you have to have collaboration. One of the things I participated in was one of the Ford Family Foundation, the community building thing that they do, and they talk about that a lot, and then how that would work, and that you're not going to always get everything that you want, but you look for the greater good, and you look for what it may not be what you want, but it might be close, or you're going to pick a battle maybe another day. So I think it's important. That's why you have 7, and you can't always get exactly what you want, but I would be open to listening to why maybe my position wasn't the one that was chosen. But that's why you have 7.
Thank you.
It's my turn.
No, James.
That's mine. I'm still taking notes.
Oh,
Jason,
sorry.
right.
Yeah.
So Elaine, how would you handle conflict with a fellow board member? And how would you handle conflict with administrators or teachers?
Well, I really don't think I'd have conflict. I might have disagreements with somebody, but I really don't picture myself of actually having a conflict. I think what I would do though is really try to listen to what they're saying and try to put myself in their shoes or listen to that side of their argument and see ways that there's common ground and or a common goal that we're trying to achieve, and then work around those common goals and achievements. But I've worked being there for 10 years. I mean, I understand how things work, and everybody has different personalities. It's a small community. I understand that. But I would look for the common ground.
Okay, number 7. What would you do when approached by an angry parent or teacher with complaints about a school district issue or an employee?
I would listen to them, and then I would try to find a common ground, and I would try to see their point of view. Sometimes people really do just need to vent. When I was in charge of the after school program, that happened on occasion a lot of times. And they also knew that I would be presenting to school boards, or they might have a conflict with a particular employee or something like that. So I would listen to what they have to say. Then if it was a particular employee, I might go listen to what they have to say about it. I would try to get both sides. But I certainly wouldn't knee jerk and just say, oh my God, how that's terrible or something like that. I would really try to find the common ground and try to resolve it, or let them just vent. Sometimes somebody just wants to vent. And then I would invite them to come to school board meetings and listen.
Okay.
Patience, your last. Number 8.
Number 8. Yay.
Okay, internet, don't fail me now. The last question, please describe all affiliations you have had with McKenzie School District.
This could take a while.
Yeah. I'll start from the beginning and maybe start working backwards. I'm on the board for the McKenzie Education Foundation. My son is an employee for the McKenzie School District, Spencer Bryson. His partner, Xochitl Diaz, is the kindergarten teacher. So I have a lot of interest, and I get to, listen to what's going on, and it's very exciting. I volunteered in the classroom, in her classroom, and that's brought back a lot of fun memories. Then I've also, like I said, I worked for the school district for 10 years, from 1999 to 2010, which is also the year my son graduated. So I represented the school district at county level organizations and groups. I also represented the school district at a lot of ESD meetings and grants and the like. I did take a little bit of a hiatus. After I retired, my husband and I took off traveling. So I do have a little bit of a gap, but I've always been very active in our community and wanting to know what's going on. I just truly believe that the school is the heart of the community. I always have, ever since my son started going there. In fact, I wouldn't let my husband move me up here until we visited the school and toured it. And I don't know how many of you, somebody in there must remember Anne Raftree, because she was a great ambassador for the school. And it really set the tone for how I feel about the school. So I don't know about other affiliations that you might be interested in. I'm a little unclear as to what you exactly want from that.
I think you covered it well. Okay, that's and Elaine, is there anything else that you want to add that we might have missed?
Well, I just, like I wrote in my deal, I really believe the school is a gem. It's different now. And in fact, some of the answers that were on my application can probably be tossed into the wind because things are a whole lot different now. But as I was rereading it today, a lot of the things are still the same. Facilities is still an issue. Staff retention is still an issue. Student retention is still an issue, and it may become a bigger issue. So all those are things. We have a lot of major tasks in front of us, and I look forward to helping the school district tackle those tasks.
Beautiful. Board members, open for discussion.
I'll be happy to start. Elena, I thought it was great answers. You know, I hate to say this because I know Tim went through the same process. These are my highest score ever. So I thought you did a great job. I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
And just, again, your familiarity with the process. Assuming you get voted on will be a great benefit to us.
Thank you.
Others?
I would echo, what James said. I mean, I can't imagine a better candidate, and I'm so pleased that you're interested in this. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and ditto for me. The packet you sent too, by the way, was really good because I felt like I got to know you just through the packet that you had sent us, which was good. So it was a good precursor to that, and a lot of your answers just shadowed what a lot of that said. So I, again, I'm just kind of ditto with James and Alyssa.
Yeah, when I started looking at the packet, I saw that and I thought, man, we must have 10 or 15 people applying, but it was just all supporting letters and all supporting documents. So yeah, it was a great packet.
Thank you.
I think you bring some great strengths to this group. If you're appointed to the position, the familiarity and the knowledge you have both within the community and the school district are extremely helpful and beneficial to identify our way ahead. Our way ahead will be challenging, as you commented on our not staffing pattern, but our school attendance, number of enrollees, but also how do we focus our efforts on getting additional resources and support for our community school, as well as our facilities issues that we've been trying to tackle since I've been a member of the school board. I think that you had spoken to something that I tried to think about my response to the question about how do you deal with conflict with a partner school board member, and I totally appreciate that you'd be looking from their shoes and seeing how from their lens and how they perceive something that you may have a disconnect on. And then also the value of there are 7 members of this board, and sometimes we can't all attend. We all have other things that we have going on, sometimes full-time jobs, but understanding that there are 7 board members and we all have a difference of opinion or we align, and having another board member with the whole focus of the whole community and the school is extremely important. And I think you hit all of those on your questions.
Thank you.
Very loud where Melissa is at, but she would like me to add on her behalf that she agrees with all the sentiment that you all are saying. So just to know that's where Melissa's coming from.
Nice. Thank you, Melissa. Well, I'll make a motion to, can I do that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, I thought somebody was interrupting me. To appoint Elaine Bryson to the board seat number 4.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, so I moved, and we'll say Alyssa seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. That's unanimous. Was there 5 of us or 6 of us?
5.
6 of us. No, 5 of us. So it's unanimous 5-0 vote. Elaine, are you ready to get started tonight?
Sure.
Good, so I can swear you in.
Okay.
So just, I guess repeat after me. So I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
I, Elaine Bryson, do solemnly swear that I will support the,
Constitution of the United States of America.
thank you, you went up, the Constitution of the United States of America,
The Constitution of the State of Oregon.
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
And the laws thereof.
and the laws thereof,
And the policy of the McKenzie School District.
and the policy of the McKenzie School District.
During my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties.
Under my term, I will faithfully and impartially
Discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of board member
of the office of board member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to it.
Good. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now the work starts.
Okay. Now I feel bad I didn't print out the agenda.
That's all
I'll
right.
follow along.
Okay, any other comments from the board before I move on?
No, welcome aboard.
Okay, thanks, James. Reports and discussions. Lane, district report.
So before I jump into the district report, Josh Cloak is here. He can speak to the charter school. We did not meet yet this month, so I think it's probably gonna be a thin report, but he is here. And
Okay.
Give him the floor if that's okay with you. Mr.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that Elaine applied, so I wasn't the only one, because I had to bow out. There's just too much going on that I've got to deal with. So I'm very happy that she applied.
And Josh, can I say, I knew that there was more than one applicant, and I was glad I did, because I always feel there should be a choice. So
Yeah. And
thank
I
you.
talked to Lane today, and I bowed out. I'm on the water district board and the park board, and so the good news is there's water to the school. There's water to every place that's still standing in Blue River. We've not met on the charter board side, but I've done a lot of work with the water board. We should be on the grid power here probably by next week. So we got electrical put in there. We got switchgear getting put in now for all the fun stuff. So the school should be fully functioning on regular power for water. We don't have any leaks. I've gone through, shut a lot of meters off along with Tony Cassad. So from that standpoint, I think we're in good shape, from the water side, but school board side, there's not a whole lot that's gone on. From what I've seen, the teachers are doing a great job of trying to accommodate the tough situation they're in. That's what I've heard from families. I know families are frustrated. We've had frustrations, but I think internet's going to be a big issue. Those are things that I've heard from the community. I don't know that that's going to get fixed anytime soon, but I don't know when our next meeting will be. We've had some issues getting everybody together lately, and I think this is probably going to make it a little harder. We didn't have great attendance before, so hopefully we can get those back on and get the proper attendance going. But appreciate everything you guys have done. It's not been easy on you, but we're going to rebuild what we have, and we'll be back up there hopefully this weekend or next week with our fifth wheel on our property. And clinic's still working on getting a permanent place or temporary permanent place up there for now. So clinic's still servicing the community. That's a big thing for us and the community. So I think there's still the services that the school kids can rely on through Kelly, not Kelly Davis, but the other Kelly that's there. So if you hear of anything in the community, there's still a great resource at Orchid Health. They are getting a mobile clinic. They're working on that now. And so they'll be down in town a couple days a week. They'll be up river a few days a week. So they're trying to accommodate everybody. The big thing right now is flu shots. Even though kids aren't in school, you should probably still try and push flu shots with the coronavirus getting worse. If they get the flu and the coronavirus, it'll just be a nightmare. So from my end of it, that's really all I have to say. Not a whole lot about the school stuff, just other community things that we've been working on. But just appreciate everything you guys have done.
Thanks, Josh. Actually, before we move on to Lane, one thing from the board for the interview question sheet, the long form that you filled out with all the answers and the points, all that stuff, hang on to that. And we'll get that to Nancy the next time you're in the district office or the next time we meet together. Bring those with us so that Nancy has a record of what that interview process was. And I forgot to say it and I apologize.
Hey, Nancy, can I scan it or do you need the original?
You're muted, Nancy.
Could probably scan it and then we can print it out if we need a hard copy.
Okay, I'll scan it and send you digital.
Me too.
Okay. I'm not even gonna attempt that. I'll just drop it
Yeah.
off. Okay, reports, back to reports. Lane.
Okay, my apologies for the long report. I'll just kind of hit the highlights. So it's 4th week of CDL. Like Josh said, the lack of internet connectivity is the major challenge right now, on top of the destruction that was caused in our community and the loss of homes. The loss of the Mount Hagen communication tower, coupled with the loss of the 20 miles of fiber optic connections, really cut off the McKenzie Valley from the outside world and each other. It was amazing how dependent we had become on being able to, in the moment, make communication connections. So slowly, thanks to the work of folks like Patience and then other groups. So thank you, Patience, for being there. Temporary cell service has been restored to areas, and the high-speed internet is starting to find its way back into the upper valley. So the fire in our district, there's other numbers that we could look at, but just kind of to wrap your head around it. So 5 certified teachers lost their homes, 12 classified staff, about 50 students lost their homes. So that's about a third of our staff and a quarter of our students that lost, the place they lay their head. And the place that's their own, in the world. So according to initial figures that Wendy and I got from Lane County Assessment and Taxation, lost about 17% of the district's taxable value is gone. And then another number to throw at you, the initial cost to do smoke mitigation for the buildings is $1.1 million. And that's just to remove the smoke. That doesn't include the repairs that'll have to happen to the bus barn. So that work has started. So we have Belfour Restoration. They started the restoration work this week. They'll start with air scrubbers, and then they'll bring in a cleaning team to remove smoke and soot from all of our surfaces. Then they will also restore the bus barn and then fix any smoke and fire damage that happened there. The fire burnt right up to the back wall of the bus barn. And how those buildings are constructed. You build the frame, you roll the insulation over, and then you cap it with the siding and the roof. So in order to remove the smoke, they're going to have to pretty much like unpeel the tin can and try to pull out what they can to get the smoke smell to go away. Besides that work, hazard mitigation, the biggest hazard right now on campus is the numerous hazard trees that we have. And then the more difficult than I thought it would be to locate a company that's interested in helping us with that. If you know of anybody who's a reputable timber cruiser, send them my way. It'd be good to know the value of the timber that we have. And then if you know anybody that's a reputable logging outfit or tree management service, send them my way. We've been trying to call a lot of people. I know Chris has meetings set up on Monday with a company, so hopefully we can get some of those hazards mitigated. But
Elaine?
Yes, sir.
Norm Michaels there in McKenzie Bridge would be great for this, and I'd be surprised if he would charge anything.
Yeah. Would you mind sending me his contact if you have it, and I'll put the feelers
I'll
out.
find it.
Because I've called a few timber cruisers and engineers, and they even reached out to OSU, the College of Forestry, just saying, hey, like this might be an interesting project. And I haven't heard.
And Lester McClure reached out to me as well, Wayne.
Okay. Do you have
I don't know if you've talked to him yet. I do.
Okay.
I'll send it over to you.
Thank you. So let's see. Yeah, so we, we lost pretty much, or everything on the district got burnt pretty much except up to the buildings. It's pretty incredible how much of an effort the fire crews put in to save campus and our buildings. But there's, all of the forested area has been burnt through. So let's see. Once Belfour's work is complete, we really want to push getting our food service department up and running again to provide meals to our students. We're currently still working with Springfield schools to try to get meals out to students. We pushed out a survey today to kind of figure out more about where folks are at so we can pass that on to Springfield and they can start delivering to kind of maybe some cluster areas for folks. Transportation, the fleet suffered some damages. The buses, most of them made it out okay. They had smoke damage, but then there was some minor heat damage, like melted like lights. So it's kind of, if you look at the back of the bus, it's kind of like a Salvador Dali painting. It was kind of interesting. We did lose 3 passenger vehicles. They were mostly used to transport students with individual needs that were going to specialized programs, but those will be recovered and replaced with our insurance. You might have heard that the emergency board, the legislature's emergency board, approved $20 million to help districts affected by summer wildfires. This is going to be interesting because we're one of the districts that's specifically called out, but it's really crafted to fill the gap between where insurance won't pay and FEMA won't cover. And because we had fire on our property, insurance is covering smoke damage, and they're not doing that for a lot of other districts. So this is really geared towards helping smoke damage in other districts. So we've sent in our costs. Wendy's done a great job of sending off figures to folks, be it either the state or FEMA or insurance or the state or the county. So thank you, Wendy, for doing that every time I say, hey, they want more numbers. So we'll see how this turns out. We've sent in our costs and some ideas we have, and we'll see what the e-board says. So there's still, how that money is going to be dispersed is still kind of in the air on their end. So in the report I shared with you, I've linked in the documents if you wanted to look at the proclamations and such. Okay, so we were also granted a waiver from ODE, us, Santiam Canyon, and Phoenix Talent. We're given permission to serve all of our students in person. We still have to follow Ready School Safe Learners guidance around the rules. They did increase some of the allowances on that because of the lack of housing and then the condition of campus currently and the minimal connectivity. It may be some time before we're actually able to exercise this waiver. What I see is most likely being the use would be for us to start setting up some learning hub kind of setups either at the school, doing limited in-person instruction, allowing kids to access internet once the school gets cleaned. So doing this, there's a lot of logistical things to figure out. It sounds really straightforward, like, yeah, we can open the school and bring kids together. But a lot of the kids that we would bring in have to travel a ways. So even if we try to reach out to like the kids in Eugene and Springfield, I don't know how we feel about putting kids on a bus during COVID, an hour each way. So, if we were going to do that numbers wise, we need more help with transportation and more buses. And so it sounds really nice, but then when you get into the logistics, so I think what we'll do is look at trying to set up some of these smaller groupings, either spread out throughout the river, certain areas to allow, kids to get into internet where we can offer a decent connection. So that those will be things Brent and I are trying to plan out the next few days to see if we can make something actually stick.
Lane, I have a question on that. So Lane, are you talking about like you would like maybe try to have like some remote sites like maybe using the Lieber? Okay. And so I think, yeah, so great. Cause that's some of the MEF money would be very interested in being used for stuff like that.
Now, but also what I'm hearing is there's a lot of people that are trying to like take it upon themselves to set these sorts of things up. And that really scares me.
Exactly.
When they're not following, we have to follow the procedures given to us by the state to minimize.
Right. So that's why I'm saying I think it's be really important for the school to say, get out in front of this and saying, this is what we're working on trying to do. So then very good natured people and trying to help don't understand all the reason, all the little idiosyncrasies of making that really work and following the guidelines that we have to follow. But we have places up and down the river that I think that can easily be used for those kind of hubs.
Then we also have to remember it wasn't until last week that we had Wi-Fi hotspots that would actually function on the cell towers that were put in the week ahead. So, but I just was saying that, like, if you hear people, I'm hearing people talking about wanting to do this. And if you hear somebody say, hey, this is what we're going to try to do, feel free to, as an extension of the district, say, oh, well, let's make sure you collaborate with us to make sure it's done safely. Because that's the last thing we want to have is a bunch of kids trying to huddle together to get internet and get sick.
So I dropped off some hotspots today, Lane, at the school with Jason. So I think one of the benefits would be to give the community something to do or give them information on what you're working on so that helps feed the beast and they don't try to put the cart before the horse. And again, if there's anything that you need related to communications, just send it my way and we'll get you connected. Like those 2 hotspots, I asked Verizon for those because I saw some kids in the back of their mom's car and I was like, wow, that looks painful. Here, school district, find a place for these. And happy to help any way I can.
Thank you. And so what we're finding is even with like the unlimited hotspots, we had 50. We're getting ahead in my report. That's a good segue. So we're able to get 50 Verizon hotspots just last week, and Brent distributed a bunch of them upriver to students on that end of the fire. And so like really like one of those would be enough, even though they say they're unlimited, they'll cap out. So like one is enough to probably get a kid through enough data to do their streaming meetings for like a month before the cycle sets. So we can't, even though we had like the 2 hotspots that help.
Well,
the
ones I brought you were from Verizon and they should not have a cap and it should be you and your 15 closest friends. She's getting big.
Yeah.
So those ones are a little bit bigger. So they should be for more than just one person.
So you know a little bit more on this. So if any of my timelines are wrong, patients, feel free to, because you talk with these folks all the time. But CenturyLink, from what I'm hearing, is not predicting until maybe January at the earliest before they have their lines replaced. Is that the right timeline?
The last update I heard was 6 to 7 months.
Okay. So January is super optimistic. So
yeah.
So it's to the point where like we are currently unable even to like forward the school calls to a different number, because if you've been through Blue River, the whole like substation switch building's gone. So we're trying to figure out another workaround for that.
So are you having trouble porting the school district number?
Yeah.
Is CenturyLink not allowing you to port?
We keep asking and then they won't tell us anything. And then we get. And
the utility commission was asking me of instances like this because CenturyLink said that's not true. So I'll forward that on to them.
Well, no, if you need, I have other outside vendors who are trying to work on it for us too. That would love to talk to you about that too. Because we the ESD. We tried to set up black box like LCOG uses, and then we went with another direction with a group called V1. And they're getting nowhere either. So yeah, we'll talk offline on that. Let's see. So then we talked with Kent Roberts and Darren Harvick. We're really interested in trying to help set up kind of a space in Rainbow. That space is still being occupied by the clinic, which is a vital service that needs to be there in that space. So we're kind of tacking and trying to find another space upriver for kids maybe to congregate. So the 50 hotspots, and then we have another 50 hotspots coming from connected Lane County. So we'll start distributing to kids further to the west, because even like you'd be surprised that you see folks, and Melissa could probably attest to this. You're in a hotel and they have Wi-Fi, but that's even a challenge to connect and have a decent connection a lot of the time. So I think if we can get a goal of getting every kid a hotspot, I think we would really save a lot of headaches, except for folks that are living outside of the temporary cell tower range or somewhere along those lines. So it'd be a good step forward. So that's what we're working with. We've also been working with a group, Oregon Internet Response. They're a volunteer group. They've been installing the Wi-Fi locations along Upper McKenzie. They built a microwave network beaming broadband and from Butte to Castle Rock. And then from Castle Rock, they've got locations in McKenzie Ridge, Rainbow, and now at the school. So we have a connection to the building, and then there's also an emergency box in the parking lot where folks can scan a QR code and it'll connect. The connection speed is not enough to provide service to all staff and students, but it's a step in the right direction. Jason compared it initially to kind of the dial-up speeds, but I think he's done some tweaking and it's got it a little bit quicker. Brent's using it right now, and we can see him. So I think we get a couple of trees cut down, and we'll have a good line of sight to Castle Rock, and we'll be moving a little quicker. So kind of a side benefit of the work that OIR did, they had to do a lot of engineering to try to figure out what's the best way to get stuff around with the topography of the area. And so a few of the companies that were connected to this, so what they're putting in is a temporary solution. Once CenturyLink and everybody's back up to speed, they'll take those things away. But they talked about more of a long range idea, would involve Emerald Broadband out of Eugene beaming from Eugene to the Mount Hagen Tower, which is being rebuilt. And then they would run fiber from Mount Hagen down to the school. So that would give us about a gig connection to campus. So that's about 10 times what we are currently using or could access through CenturyLink. So then to make it redundant, a group called Elevate Technology has talked about sending broadband from Bend using the eWeb towers and fully licensing all those temporary connections, and then building a tower near the bus barn, and then running fiber from the bus barn down to the building. So that would give us another gig connection. And if one end should drop, then we would have a connection to the outside world. That sounds really cool. And we're working with them. But that ends up it would cost about $600,000. Yeah. So it's cool. And we could do some cool stuff with it because we'd own the tower. We could like lease space on the tower to communication carriers should they want to lease space. Also, we would have through FCC, I guess each school district has a license for the 2.5 gigahertz bandwidth band. So we could set up, which is about the same as like LTE coverage. And we could make an educational internet wireless network for students, or we could potentially lease that. So it could be something really cool. The $600,000 up front is going to be kind of a heavy lift, and we're looking at ways that we could maybe talk about that. But then we also have to follow protocol like bids, and then what does that do with our E-rate? And so it's kind of it's a cool idea, and it's fun talking with them and working towards that solution. But I think there's going to be some other things that might jump out of Pandora's box. But that would be, they say that they could build that out within 4 to 8 weeks. So that's way closer.
Wow.
So Lane,
That's amazing.
Lane, I mean, it just seems to me that could potentially be a money maker in a way.
Yeah, I think like we could potentially we could generate some revenue off the tower and leases. It's definitely it would be a win-win for us and for them, because then they would be entering into a market they haven't been in before.
Right.
It's definitely conversations worth having, and then I'll keep you guys updated as those things develop and things we find out about it. And
And again,
So,
I would really, I'm sorry, I would just really wonder though if there's got to be, not got to be, but I just really wonder if there's like some weird kind of money that would be out there too for rural districts. Because I remember when the first bond levy, getting CenturyLink and those fiber optics, it was beneficial that there was a school out this way. So I'm just wondering if cell towers are towers in that same boat nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Lane, I was just going to make a comment about FEMA. So when you do get your program delivery manager assigned,
Uh-oh.
can't see your face. You're on here somewhere. Oh, there you are. Ask them that question. Tell them about your project. The PDMG, your program delivery manager for your FEMA grant reimbursement, they will come with money at some point that for potential projects, and we could propose this project to them. The only caveat there would be a 25% match. So if it were 600,000, then we just need to find a match from a community partner, or maybe it's that e-board money from the 20 million. So keep that in mind.
Since is that something the clinic could potentially jump in on too and help gets funding for? Being a rural health clinic?
yeah, potentially.
Yes. So
Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say the clinic they should have completed the FEMA forms too for public assistance working. I think they're connected with Margaret Bellhauser, and they're having their own little meetings to fill out all the forms, and they'll get assigned a same person, a PDMG, to help work through the process. And you can ask those questions there.
I just really think
Wendy knows.
Not just for the school, but for the community to have a redundant connection would just be,
yeah.
You know, that
for many reasons.
Yeah.
Yep. Many
what
reasons.
We have to make sure is that, you know, the new Hagen Tower is not built out of wood. That's a big thing. And we have enough big generators with big enough fuel tanks to get us through. I think they said that would, when they rebuild it, they're shooting for, I think, a 3 to 4 day capacity.
It depends on who we go with on Hagen. So at Bear, because of Snowmageddon, we just finished. It's a royal we. I had nothing to do with it, but the county had 27 days now. So before Snowmageddon, it was meant to go about 7 days on battery backup and fuel, and that wasn't long enough. And we, with that PDMG or HMA funding, we were able to buy enough batteries and a bigger fuel tank to extend the power for about 27 days on Bear. Yep. So that's why I'm saying, don't forget about that money. We might be able to get that on the list, and I'll flag it for the state too.
Thank you. So let's see. Do you want to let you know? So I'll keep you definitely posted with all those discussions with that. The USBA, I met with Bruce O'Neill again. He came in on Tuesday, and they really want to work with us about, you know, setting up a relationship to work with their students, the domestic students and international students. They're really hopeful that, you know, following the election, politics might shift a little bit in regards to overseas collaborations, and then as things improve with COVID. You know, he was telling me about how the Chinese were able to control it on their end, and there's not a whole lot of outbreaks anymore. So that's optimistic that they're doing well overseas. They're also added some other countries. And so we talked quite a bit about keeping it like a realistic size scale, because I think last time we spoke about it, the high end of the scale was kind of scary. And so they would be committed to keeping it, you know, smaller. And now would be the time that would make sense to start working with the State Department about setting up a program to offer visas. So just letting you know, I am talking with him still. We'll meet again. He's offered some assistance and some resources of knowledge around some folks who do have a program like this. So it could be a way to add in some kids to our student roles as we're dealing with kind of this dip that we're going to see because of the fire.
So Lane, I just
So I'll
would
keep you updated.
Lane, I would advocate for that. I don't know if you remember, we sponsored a foreign exchange student, and I think that year there was like 6 in the school, and I think it was an amazing. It brought some money to the school, but it also brought a huge cultural deal for the students that were there. And I'm not sure if you might have graduated by then, but anyway, it was really great. So I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I think the juggling the State Department stuff will be kind of a learning curve.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit in the future, but yeah.
But I think I agree, because it could open up some doors, even getting some of our kids potentially overseas to see the world and learn some things. So I'll keep you posted on that. Oh, I did want to point out that the last group, when the OIR, when they went up to Castle Rock last time, the basketball team that is currently at the USBA, they have like a club team there. They carried all the supplies up. So I just wanted to, recognize those guys for
cool.
back to the community that, they don't live here necessarily, but they've embraced helping out. So that was kind of cool.
And those supplies included things like batteries.
Big batteries. Last thing I want to touch base on is that, we continue to serve as a resource to the community. So going back to the night of the wildfire, the district answered the call from Red Cross to help support the community as an evacuation site. That didn't last as long as we had hoped, but I did want to thank Melanie Bright and Chris Lester for being there, manning that, helping folks when they got there, and then also safely getting folks out of there when they heard that it was time to evacuate. So tip my hats to Melanie and Chris. Thanks for being willing to help the community and kept a lot of people safe. The county early on had used the new gym as a storage site for donations that they were receiving. Then they were staging and sending up to the upper McKenzie community. Since that time, starting out as being a storage site, the McKenzie CDC has taken over, and that storage site is now a distribution site for area residents. So at the Blue River Relief Center, you can get food, clothing, camping supplies, an internet connection, referrals and connections to other services. It's kind of like if you haven't been up there, it's kind of like a little Walmart. It's pretty impressive, actually. And so thanks to Madison Kleiner, Jennifer Zirkle, and Johnny Mayer for going above and beyond and serving our community. So then by the end of this month, the campus will be home to a temporary USPS site. So the Postal Service will be on campus. So Monday, I talked with Charles, the Walterville postmaster. So I'm going to bring up a temporary trailer and park in the parking lot near the district office. So our zip code will have mail service once again, so people can come in and pick up their mail at the school. And so I bring these things up because, a lot of times when we think of schools, we think about the teachers and the learning that happens in the classroom. But you guys are doing a great job of continuing a long tradition that McKenzie's had of helping the community when there's a need and when we can. So I think we're doing a good job of maintaining and building upon that tradition of being a hub for the community. So just a lot of exciting stuff going on during some adversity, and then a lot of exciting stuff going on from classrooms that are from being beamed from home or being beamed to the back of the minivan in a lot of places. So just give everybody a pat on the back. They're all doing a hell of a job. So then that concludes my way too long report for the month of October.
Good, thank you, Lane.
Yes, thank you, Lane.
Building report, Brent.
Yeah, hi, good to see everybody. I know, Lane summed up a lot of what's going on, and kind of like Elaine, noted earlier, it's been really neat for me to see this community come together and learn so much about what each other does in order to better work together to solve these problems that we're finding ourselves having to face. And I think that that's making Lane a better superintendent, and it's making all of us better at what we do by understanding how to better work with our neighbors and make progress towards common goals. So yeah, in terms of the building, I guess I'll speak more to just teachers and staff and that kind of stuff, as Lane covered most everything else. I am at the building. I am on a Zoom meeting, and the internet connection with my video has been relatively good. It's unstable, but that's to be expected. But it's, thank you, Jason, and everybody else who helped to get this, make it possible so I can sit in my office and do this. Yeah, so, Lane talked about a ton. Our teachers continue to be just an amazing group of individuals that have persevered through their own trauma and experience with all of this and continue to serve our community. It's not an ideal situation, as we all know, but they're making the best of it. I know it's not an ideal situation for so many families that are dealing with this on a personal level and then trying to figure out how to make school a priority. So many of us are just trying to figure out next steps and needs and all of that sort of stuff, where school can kind of find its way a few rungs down on the ladder relative to where it normally would be. But I want to commend so many of our families for trying to stick with it and trying to be patient and work through their frustration with lack of communications or internet, and trying to deal with everything that they're dealing with at the same time. So yeah, again, our teachers are really going above and beyond to try to connect with all of the students that they can. Like the spring, given this situation with the fire, we were definitely more prepared going into this before the fire and had really good plans in place for how to connect with students and work, given COVID. But obviously this fire threw a wrench in a lot of our plans. But our teachers have continued to go above and beyond and go out of their way to find students and bring them things or make sure that they're doing well and connect with them, beyond just the regular academic relationship. So I think in the long run that will pay dividends, but in the short run it's very difficult for a lot of students and a lot of families, and we are very aware of that and are doing everything we can to try to help them work through this. But just want to continue to communicate that it's going to be a long process, and we all need to extend each other some grace and patience and be supportive of each other as we work through it. So we'll keep spreading that message, and hopefully others will hear that and we can move forward together. But yeah, Belfour is here, and there are some air scrubbers all over the place. They're really loud, but hopefully they're doing their job. Yeah, anybody have any other questions?
Thank you. I know it's been really tough for the staff and teachers, and I've heard firsthand, and thanks for supporting them and listening to them, because it is a very difficult time for them.
Yeah, I agree, Elaine. We're all experiencing our own stuff on top of this, and it's but I want to commend them for being able to be there for students and families, even in spite of that.
Thanks, Brent. Financial report, Wendy.
Can you hear me?
You can. You're echoing.
Is that better?
No.
Yeah, can you turn it down? Okay, I'm gonna move. Sorry. Is that better?
Much better.
Okay. All right, so for August, Nancy, can you turn yours down? Can you turn your volume down?
Hey, Wendy, can you tell us what page of the
On the right
PDF
side.
you're on?
You can go get Shane. He might be outside. Okay, for August, our revenue was $138,421. Our expenditures, $173,488. On our APs, for accounts payable, we spent $91,929, and $63,000 of this is for PACE, which is our insurance that we pay every August. Am I still echoing?
A little bit.
Okay.
Hey, that PACE was a great investment this year.
What?
I said PACE was a great investment this year.
Okay.
It was a joke.
For September, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yep. You're doing great.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, September, we received revenue $137,219. We spent $265,187. For our APs, accounts payable, we spent $76,269. And some of this was to spend out our charter money. It had to be spent before the end of September. And as you can see that we have our payroll for September, total of $124,563. And we had a couple checks for a high school student body for $2,248. And I think then you have your elementary and your high school student body behind that. It should, you guys did get this, I believe, in an email. Okay, and do you guys have any questions on the financial report?
We balanced?
Excuse me?
We balanced?
We are balanced.
Very nice.
Hey, Wendy, just to show you, I actually look at this on occasion. I'll ask a question. I said, just to show you, I actually look at this on occasion. I'll ask a question that maybe Lane has to answer. In the student body account, what's an air cat training machine that they bought for volleyball? And are we doing sports right now?
We are not doing volleyball, and I believe, if I remember right, it's something that shoots the volleyball out. Is that right, Lane? And they wanted this a while back, so that's why it's in here now, because everything, all the reports are delayed because we didn't get everything.
Okay.
Yeah, they because of COVID, they weren't able to go to team camp, and so they've been doing their fundraising in the fall, and then they do their bottle drop fundraisers, one of the things they also do. So then this is a training tool that they've wanted for some time, and so they're pretty excited. So yeah, but it is sitting really lonely in the storage room.
Yeah,
right
I would
now,
have thought.
to get used. Yeah.
That was a good question, James.
I look at them on occasion.
I'm glad. Thank you.
So I'd just like to say hello, Wendy.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Yes, you too.
There we go. No other questions for Wendy?
Good job.
All right. Thanks, Wendy.
Yes.
Next up, bond report. Lane.
Okay, so this is kind of a tough one because we've all put a lot of work into it. But so just to kind of give you a time frame of stuff like we've I've tried to figure out after the fire, and then possibly talk about some things you guys can talk about. I'm also currently bound by election law about how I can speak about this, so I need to be very neutral. So after the fire broke out, like a day or two after, the light bulb went off after being up too late, going, oh man, we got to figure this out. So I called the county clerk, Cheryl. She's a wonderful person. About kind of what our options would be about the bond, because it was something that you guys could make a decision about if you wanted to keep it on or off. I'd want to be able to give you that information in light of, everybody being evacuated and a lot of the homes burning. So she notified me at the time it was too late to remove it. Ballots had already been printed and then they had been sent to voters overseas. And so she has a very interesting job that's very busy, it seems like, and she's been very gracious with her time. So I do appreciate her answering a lot of my questions. So then at that time, the district had stopped all kind of promotions. We had been working with a consultant from OSBA. We were getting ready to order a series of mailers that had been designed, and then they were sitting at QSO printing. The print job was ready to go, and I got an email from the person there asking if we wanted to go ahead, and we decided we didn't want to send out all those mailers to everybody in the R2 zip codes. So there hasn't been any forward movement on that. There was a PAC that was meeting, or they were beginning to form. They hadn't done any official activity yet. And then because of the fire, they never officially formed, and they hadn't done any promotion activity yet. Spoke with Carol Samuels from Piper Sandler. I keep forgetting it's Piper Sandler, not Piper Jaffray anymore. And she mentioned that she was going to approach the folks, because she sits on the awesome board, about what the options might be for us given the circumstances. Michael Elliott from ODE, who administers that, responded shortly after and gave us the option to move our award from this election to the May election should we choose. And I asked him if we need an official vote, and he said no, just knowing that was kind of the consensus of the group, then we could do that. So that'd be one of my asks eventually, is kind of get a bead for where you guys feel that should go, if we should keep it with this election or postpone it until May and potentially kind of circle the wagons and come up with a different plan. So then on the bond report, there's a timeline of when we'd have to file should we decide to do the May 19th election. Wendy and I recently met with representatives from Lane County Assessment and Taxation, as well as Carol Samuels and Brett Yancey from Springfield Public Schools. And so pretty much what we got, we wanted to know what would impact our taxation in general, and then specifically what it would do to the proposed rate, to the proposed bond. And so then what we learned in that meeting was that we lost about 70% of our taxable value. And 17%, when you look at it, doesn't seem like much, but it's going to have a ripple effect, not just for us, but for the entire state. Because remember, in Oregon, we collect our taxes, it goes to the state, and then the state distributes it. So not just our fire, but when you think of like places like Phoenix Talent that lost 2,000 dwellings, and compound that with the Sandy Am fire in Detroit losing their housing, and all the other fires, it was really clear that having this meeting, some folks at the state hadn't made that connection yet, and then they left really quick to have other meetings to talk about this. So it's not good news, but it was good that we had the meeting, because you could tell the numbers people started going, oh wait. So I'll keep you addressed as what we learned from that. There's supposed to be some stabilization stuff they're going to try to figure out specifically for us and some other districts, but it's going to affect not just us. But what specifically it'll do for the proposed bond rate is because the tax year is kind of winding down. That first year assessed rate would be right around that 197, 196. So the first year would be great. They're not great. I'm not supposed to use strong language. The first year will be that neutral. Okay. So then what they predict would happen is with that 17% loss at minimum, that rate would jump to 230 per thousand. And that's not factoring in things like delinquency or other things that could affect that rate. So there's just a lot of uncertainty right now about where we would end up for a bond, a proposed bond that we were hoping to kind of take care of everything in one shot. That I think, it might not be, based on what's happened in our community, if it would be the most prudent thing to do. So just kind of in closure of my report, really, there's no turning back with the November measure. It's on the ballot. It was pretty big trying to take care of everything all at once. If you guys should so choose, the district could look at trying again in May, make a kind of a more measured request to deal with like the pressing we need it done now, like the new gym roof and some other things that are falling apart. And then maybe look at a plan to do some subsequent smaller bonds as things come back. But I just kind of want to give you that information and then kind of feel you out for what your thoughts are on our situation and what you might think about the moving the Awesome Award to May for the time being.
Lane, is the excuse me, is the Awesome grant an either or thing, meaning that we either leave it on the November ballot or we move it to the May ballot? In saying that, so if the November bond fails, then, and we had the Awesome grant tied to that, then we would not be able to redo that in May.
Yep.
So
I
then
think it's a one-time shot, and we'd have to pick which one we want it to remain with.
Right. So if we did a May, then presumably it would be 4 million bond plus 4 million matching grant at the minimum.
Yeah, that would be, we'd have to have discussions, and that would be what you guys would have to decide. That's a potential, where it's not asking for the 15 plus the 4. It would just be whatever you guys felt was more realistic. I was hoping to have some figures for you guys to look at from Piper Sandler, but I didn't get anything yet to even think about what would it look like if we went with that kind of numbers that you mentioned, and then what would that tax rate end up being? And then maybe we could look at the difference of, instead of doing a 25-year repayment, what it would look like if we did a 10-year or a 15-year, because we can mess with that sort of stuff like you can with a mortgage. It's
right,
similar.
Right. So I just want to open up the floor to the board. In terms of, there's a whole number of things that we could do on this. Everything from just let the November ballot go and see what happens, which may or may not be an appropriate thing to do, which I'll talk about in a little bit, or postpone the Awesome to May, which would be a whole new, it's basically starting over again, and doing a piecemeal thing for our school down the road, not just May, but even beyond that. In our conversations leading up to this ballot before the fire, everybody's on the board obviously is aware of the needs of our facilities, both replacement and repair. I think our newest, Lane, correct me if I'm wrong, our newest school classroom building is 1952, something like that.
Yeah, pretty close.
I don't remember exact dates, but it was a long time ago. And of course, these bonds only bring, assuming that you don't rebuild, repair just means you're bringing it back to the codes of those years. So what is kind of your opinions about what we should do both now and in the future?
I guess I would pose the question of, well, first off, assuming it wouldn't pass, which I'll be honest with you, I think it has zero chance in this election cycle. So what's the downside of postponing that awesome grant then? Because like I said, I personally don't think it's going to pass in November. So we lose the $4 million awesome grant, correct? Yeah, I guess it'd be an ideal of how do people feel? What's their confidence in that bond passing? Especially, in light of the rates are, I'm sure we were all hearing some balking in the community before with the rates.
Right.
And for those who still have homes, that rate just went up 10%, 20%, 10, 15%, whatever. I'm not sure like I said, I think it was going to be hard to start with, somewhere near impossible now from my perspective.
And even for those who lost their homes, the value of the property may be less, but you're still going to owe the taxes on what
That's true.
on what's left over. So
Yeah, I don't see a downside to delaying it. I know there's some more work, but I think it's better to have some more work and have a chance or a higher likelihood of success than going with what we have now. I think we've got a very low likelihood. Sorry, Patience.
Oh, no, you're fine. Me as a parent of graduates from the high school and a graduate of the high school, and hearing some of the community members and their feelings of the school still standing and essentially being the lighthouse of the community after having been impacted by this disaster, I feel like some of the decisions that would be made to be for in support of this bond. So it's unfortunate that we don't have all the voices in the room or all the numbers in the room to make this decision. Our community up into some areas was fairly middle class, retired community members that will rebuild. We don't know what those numbers are because we don't have a crystal ball. Some of the numbers I've seen, very high level, the homes that were, at or below poverty level weren't at the percentage that I think would the property owners would vote no, right? So I would vote, if I had more information, I would vote yes to keep it on the November ballot. But since we don't have a real solid access to statistics and information based on the data that Lane just gave us, I would say no, because we just don't know what the impacts are downrange statewide.
So I guess the question I would have then is, we're looking at an election in what, 2 weeks, something like that. So are we looking to have an action item now to say to delay it officially?
Well, so I just want to say, because so it was on the news, you guys, this evening about talking about that this isn't the time. So it's already out in the media that right now is not the time to do it. Whether I agree with that or not, I mean, because like lo and behold, people say, oh my God, this was a lifeline. This was great. Of course we need to do this for the school. It's and such, and then we miss it. So, I mean, I'm with Patience. It's just like, there's not enough information to do it, but man, do we not want to, we don't want to miss that opportunity, but I don't think it's going to pass either.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about losing the awesome grant.
Exactly.
Can we vote like on November 15th, Lane?
But, you know, but it's already, you guys have already gone out into the news media and saying, you know, now's not the time maybe to vote for this. So we've kind of already made our position.
Who
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 did
made
that?
that? Yeah.
Lane and I did, and we did you, Lane, I don't know if you passed on the video to the board members. Okay.
So can you give us the background on that, Tim?
Yeah, so going back a little bit, backstory is a lot of people were wondering why we would put the bond on the ballot after a fire and didn't realize that that was all done pre-fire. So I mean, as you guys know, as we led up to this November ballot, we put this, I think we voted back in July to put it on the ballot, and then Lane through the regular procedures put it on the ballot, all pre-fire. And the PAC and the steering committee were literally days away from when the fire started, days away from putting on the to start promoting the bond for the November election to push it through. And without the fire, it probably would have passed. Now that the fire has happened and so many people have lost their homes and properties, and frankly, right now they're still processing with the fire. I know, and I'm sure you guys are feeling the same thing, is we're still telling each other the stories of the night of the fire and the days following the fire. And even now, people are, including myself, are still having visceral responses to what happened to our entire community. A lot of people were asking about the bond. A lot of people were asking, why would you move forward with this? We've already taken hits on our houses, and now you want even more money being taken out of our wallets from what we're doing. So the media picked up on it, and I was interviewed a couple times today. I tried to send the message that we were having a conversation tonight as a board and making a decision tonight as a board, and that I, as only a single board member, have an opinion, but I can't speak for the board. And so and I'm not sure, I haven't seen the news report, so I don't know what actually came out. But that's kind of where we're at. So the decision for tonight is, one of the news channels was asking me, by the way, are we telling the voters to vote no? And I said, no, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that right now to do a $15 million bond with the Awesome is probably an inappropriate time to go to the voters to ask for that bond because of what's been happening to our valley. So it's not a matter of, do we need the bond or not need the bond, or do we need that money or not need that money? It's a matter of timing. So do we go forward with a bond now, and in light of the fire, or would we rather, as a board, would we rather postpone into May and beyond to piecemeal the entire 15 million plus 4? So let's just say the 19 million, because we need that. No matter what, we still need to replace the elementary. We still need to repair roofs. We still need to repair all the different buildings and things that are going on in our district. It's just a matter of the timing of it, and maybe waiting for the valley to come back and start rebuilding before we go back out for more bond money. So, and May is not that far away. I mean, that's a semester, a little bit more than a semester away, to go out with a bond at that point, which of course we'll process about the fire a lot more by then, but still that's pretty darn early given the thing that we're doing now. I personally believe that the current bond won't pass, and I think there's a lot of angry people out there, at least from what I've heard, about the assessment of the properties. $1.96 was I think most people kind of were okay with that, but when that assessment goes up per 1,000 because the property values have come down, one, people won't vote for that, and two, people are somewhat angry from that. The people that I know that are 80-ish years old and older are not going to rebuild. They're going to clean up their property and sell it as a lot, which then somebody would rebuild that down the road. The people that are more my age in their 60s are going to rebuild, and there's a good chunk of those folks too. Josh, I saw you. Did you have a comment? And you're on mute.
Can't hear you, Josh.
Hear you, Josh.
Well, while Josh is horsing around over there trying to get his microphone to work, I'll say, Tim, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate other insights.
And
that better?
Yeah, there you go.
It's a new computer. So I'm on the steering committee with Elaine and Tim and Tim Lowy. We got our assessment on our house because it's now been finally long enough for them to reassess the house. And you have to understand that when they set the value for your property, 80 to 85% of the property value is the improvement of the home. So a good majority of our homes, especially in that stretch of road, 80 to 85% of the value is gone. So when you're talking about a tax assessment on a $400,000 house of $1.60, you're now talking a tax assessment of $5, $6 per thousand. And the issue with that isn't that people won't pay it. It's that a lot of people right now can't pay it. A lot of people were underinsured. So there's going to be an issue with paying taxes to start with. Most of Blue River proper won't get rebuilt unless there's a sanitary district put in place, because 80% of that, 90% of that district doesn't have proper sewage. So there's a lot of issues with that bond passing from a standpoint of just keeping people in the community. And so on the financial side, the other issue is can we even pay the bond back if we get it? If we don't rebuild fast enough, that's another concern.
Also, Lane, I don't know if you know this fact, but if this bond should pass, we don't have to sell the bonds right away. What's the time frame, or maybe Wendy, what's the time frame of having to sell bonds versus holding off on it? Or do we know that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Carol.
Okay.
I know we can release certain series of them. We don't have to do it all at once. So, you could release a portion, you could sell a portion of that debt and hold on to the remaining and sell it later on as you needed it. But I don't know enough of the specifics.
Right. And our job tonight, by the way, I probably should have led with this, but our job tonight is to, I believe, take action to let Lane know whether or not we should put the Awesome Grant in November or delay that to May. Is that a correct statement, Lane?
It doesn't necessarily need to be an action. I need at least an idea of consensus of where, and then I can let Michael Elliott know. And
so can we get an informal thumbs up or thumbs down? Is that enough for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Thumbs up saying let's delay it.
Yeah, so let's start there. So those of us who want to delay the Awesome Grant into May, give a thumbs up on that. So I see 3, 4, 5. So I see 5 of us.
I just want to say one thing, but I do believe we need to have some communication around that prior to people. I mean, people are putting their ballots in already. I think we need to put some communication out there as to what this Awesome Grant is, because that was part of what the PAC was going to do. The PAC was going to talk about that. The PAC was going to that was part of the selling point around this whole grant and this whole bond levy. And I think it's really important to get that out as to why we put this bond levy on there in the first place. Didn't know that this fire was going to happen, obviously, and what this awesome grant is. I think we really, really need to, I don't know how we do that, but we really need to get that word out and stay tuned, kind of a thing, because obviously, I mean, if you think about what this grant or what this bond levy was going to be, the school would be set up so great right now to be doing what it was supposed to be doing for a situation, just what we're going through. And I think that we could really, I mean, that's a huge selling point.
Right. And I think now, I mean, in terms of the fire, we're 6 weeks, 36 hours away, and actually almost 6 weeks and 2 days now since the fire. And I think people are just kind of starting to get their head above
Their bearings.
and try to figure all this stuff out. So it's just
Right.
the time is horrible. And for those of you who got the resolution that I wrote, it's not really saying vote yes or no. What it's saying is that just this may be an inappropriate time to do the bond, which in a sort of way is a negative way of saying it, I guess. But and I'm not even sure if we need to pass a resolution, but that would be one way to start to send that message out, is the resolution being passed and then being placed on the website and within the media.
Is that something, so I guess Lane can't write an article for the River Reflection, but Tim, could you put a paragraph, would they accept the paragraphs snippet from Tim kind of explaining why we've done this? Put it on
Yeah,
hold?
I can put something together. I know Laney kind of help me with that a little bit, because I think it's Monday's the deadline for next Thursday's paper.
Well,
And then maybe the person we were working with earlier for the video, maybe she can help us out in getting some of the word out to some of the larger media outlets. I don't know. I don't have TV anymore, so I don't know.
know. So Tim,
Yes.
so I watched the news this morning just before the school board meeting, and I think it's KVAL, and they're going to do and he's talking about doing a follow-up.
Oh, okay, good.
After, in fact, they might be watching the YouTube video right now.
Right.
They're going to do a follow-up for it. So what I'm saying is that I think we really need to, while this iron's hot right now,
Right.
and to put why this bond levy was there for the first place, how it could have been so beneficial for the community if we already had it, and the awesome matching funds, and that stay tuned. We may need to re-look at this here in the near future.
Right.
Once everybody's settled,
Right.
whatever settled looks like.
Yeah.
I think something else that we didn't talk about, but we should probably mention, is what would happen if so it sounded like consensus is around letting ODE know we'll wait until May. But say we do that, and then without having any ground game, because the community loves us so much, which I know they do, they vote for it anyways, and it passes, what would happen? Well, if we let ODE know we wanted to delay, then we wouldn't get the 4 million match.
I think we're gambling either way.
It is kind of and that's,
And
this is, the words unprecedented have been floating around a lot, over the past couple of years, and then recently a lot. And so this is a really unprecedented situation you guys are making decisions in.
Yeah,
So,
I've never seen.
I think Lane and Tim, a couple of things I think you could hang your hat on, the reasons why the decisions were made, and speak to them loudly and clearly when you're talking to the media about the catastrophic loss. First, at the school district level, I heard the demographics that Lane really spoke about, the number of students, impacted staff, teaching staff, and classified staff. Those numbers are huge, in that our school district is going to experience, unprecedented issues going forward for the next 6 months, the next 18 months. But also, the other piece of the pie that you need to keep in mind too is the school district McKenzie School District is a community school, and they're doing everything they can to support the community as well as continue to function as a school district. And this is one step in the right direction that I feel this school board and the charter board would probably support, that we need to postpone this until May because it's the right thing to do for our community, whether it passes or not in November.
Right.
And those are my 2 cents.
Patience.
My experience in, in education with boards, I've never seen a school board kind of taken back a bond levy that they had put on to the bond. Usually it's, you put the bond on and you go for it and you do a lot of campaign around it and to pass it. But here we are saying the opposite, which again, Lane, I'm sorry, but it's unprecedented as far as I know. And I know the different layers that our district is dealing with between COVID, between the fire, between displaced homes, between like all the different stuff we've been going through the last couple of years. These are huge times, and I really hats off to the board, hats off to Lane and his team, teachers, classified, everybody, because they've really come together, the community really come together to support each other. And I know McKenzie Strong will keep going. So the consensus that I kind of saw there was a thumbs up. I didn't see Alyssa because her video's not on, but thumbs up from everybody else that we move forward with putting the Awesome Grant into May, which then, Lane, means that we need to start putting together what that would look like with a new smaller bond. And then like Patience and Elaine were just saying that I need to get out there in stronger terms about not passing this particular bond, this November ballot bond. Am I capturing pretty much what you're saying?
I'm not sure the resolution, if you're going to update some of the narrative to, I know you mentioned earlier, maybe not so negatively, but put some of those two spins on it that I just alluded to, or add those in somewhere and use that as the document that you stand on in supporting our mission going forward as a board.
Right. Okay. So Patience, what you're suggesting is the end of that when it's the therefore statement to use stronger language to even say do not vote for the November, do not vote yes on the November ballot.
And referencing some of the statistics that Lane had called out. I don't think I saw those in there, but that would just be, my 2 cents.
Right.
Like another whereas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another whereas in there.
Right. And also, yeah, because we want to be able to get those matching grants. And a couple other school districts are doing it too. I think Bethel's is another. I think it's Bethel, that's using that Awesome Grant also. And so that's part of their advertising that they're doing on it. So I think that's a huge thing, is that, in fact, we were, Tim, the PAC was going to hang their hat on that basically, right. and how cheap money was. And I believe money is going to be cheap again in the spring. Yes. And in fact, I think we probably have a year or two for money to be cheap. I hope.
Right. No, I think you're right.
Those type of things.
Gosh, that's your business. He's nodding. So. Right.
And then we can discuss what we want that bond levy to look like, because, whether we want it to be small or go, incrementally or not. It gives us a little time.
So to make sure of this, Patience, which stats were you talking about? Or
I think she was
Lane.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Lane mentioned the 5 teachers, 12 classified staff, 50 students, and he rough drafted or put out there a third of the staff and a quarter of the students have lost their homes.
Yeah, it was in his superintendent's report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote that down. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation and then have the board vote on it. I'm going to add that in as a last whereas. I might move it around a little bit, but I'll add that in as a whereas. And so that way I can make the changes and not have to come back to the board down the road to do the resolution. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So the resolution 20-J says, the McKenzie School District Board is committed to serve in the best interest of the school community as well as the general McKenzie River community. Whereas the McKenzie School District facilities are in significant need of repair or replacement. Whereas the McKenzie School Board acted July 15, 2020 to place $15,250,000 school bond on the November 2020 election ballot. Whereas the general obligation bonded indebtedness was procedurally placed on the November 2020 election ballot. Whereas subsequently, the McKenzie River community experienced the unprecedented Holiday Farm fire. Whereas the school bond was placed on the November 2020 ballot prior to the Holiday Farm fire. Whereas consequently, as the fire caused substantial financial and emotional hardship on the community, the consequential timing of the school bond measure is now arguably inappropriate. Whereas further, the school bond measure could not be removed from the ballot as the ballot had already been printed. Whereas based on pre-fire property values within the school district, the school bond measure estimated an assessment of $1.96 per thousand of pre-fire property value. Whereas the post-fire property values are substantially less than the pre-fire property values. Whereas should the November 2020 school bond measure pass, the decrease in property values will cause the property assessment to increase to an estimated $2.30 per thousand of property value. And then and this is the new one, whereas meeting something along the lines of that 5 teachers lost their homes, 12 staff members lost their homes, and 50 students lost their homes, which accounts for 1/3 of the staff and 1/4 of the students. Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of McKenzie School District number 68, located in Lane County, Oregon, resolves as follows. The McKenzie School District Board recognizes the sudden and ongoing impact of the Holiday Farm fire to the greater McKenzie River community. To support the McKenzie River community in this time of great emotional and financial distress and angst, the school board acknowledges and understands that at this time requesting $15,215,000 general obligation bonded indebtedness from the voters is inappropriate, and if possible, delay the school bond measure to a future election at a time when the McKenzie River community is recovering from the Holiday Farm fire. And that's our proclamation, or our resolution 20-J. So is that something that the board wants to move forward with?
I do. I like it. I think it's well written. I think there's been a lot of thought put into that. It was obviously a lot of people putting some effort into that. So I would support that. I'm willing to move on it if others are in support of it. Anybody else have anything to? So I move that we approve resolution 20-J as Tim just wrote it. Yeah, as amended.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, so James moved to pass resolution 20-J, and I believe it was Patience that seconded.
Yes.
Okay, and all those in favor, say aye.
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 Melissa via text said that she votes aye as well.
That was Alyssa?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that passes. I'll work on this tonight and get it out to the various news media. Lane can help me with that because I don't know the people that he does.
Yeah,
then,
I would definitely get it to the guy who you talked to earlier today because he's following up.
I'm sure he's going to call you.
KPIX.
I think he'll be calling you.
Okay. Let's see, I think that was our last. Yeah, so that was the last action item. So our next item is school board comments.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, we skipped the other 4 action items.
the other 4.
Oh, is there another one?
Well,
Yeah.
we went to the last of 5. We got to go. We need 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So you did
The language arts.
Oh,
1.
action items. Geez, I'm sorry. I'm looking at reports of discussion.
I like the way you're moving
James,
things
is
through.
somebody paying you? I mean,
I love the way you're moving things through. Don't get me wrong. It's late and I still got work to do.
You know what? I apologize, you guys. I was looking at reports of discussion and not at action items. And I think Lane's bond report got me going on that.
It was a good segue. Like everybody was tracking you. But
Sorry.
have
Okay,
to-
Lane, you're up with language arts McGraw-Hill adoption. I apologize, everybody.
So then, ELA, English Language Arts, was to be the curriculum adopted, but then due to COVID, they postponed everything a year. And preparing for this year, it was pretty obvious that our texts that were set to be readopted were a little old and didn't play well with distance learning. So Mr. Calloway and myself looked into some options, and then he settled on the McGraw-Hill Study Sync curriculum for 7 through 12 instruction. I sent out a little document with some links so you guys can get in and take a look. The interface for the students and the teachers is actually pretty dynamic, as a pretty wide library of selections for the teacher to choose to supplement what they're working on. Mr. Calloway is pretty excited, so I'm just bringing this before you guys to adopt the Study Sync curriculum.
So I move that we adopt the language arts McGraw-Hill adoption requested for the middle school, high school.
A second.
So I move to adopt. James seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
hi.
All right, that passes. That was Alyssa.
Elaine was that last one.
Alyssa says aye.
Okay. So that passes 6. Are we 6 now or 7? No, we're 6 now.
Melissa had to step off. She apologizes.
There's only 5 of us right now.
Right. Okay. So that passed 6-0.
And
5.
Here.
5-0. We're missing Kent. Yeah.
Okay. Next action item, MOU agreement with MEA. Lane.
So in preparing for comprehensive distance learning, I've been working with the McKenzie Education Association and Mr. Culp. You attached, you should see the MOU agreement that really just focuses on how we'll work together during comprehensive distance learning. This was drafted before the fire, so there's some things that are called out in it that both sides recognize will be a challenge if we try to do that. But I just really appreciate Mr. Culp and MEA's level-headedness and their willingness to work with us. So I think this would be, reasonable to meet them with this. And then once we, potentially when we do get back to school and campus post-COVID, then we can get together and come up with another agreement to encapsulate any of the other adjustments we need to make.
Comments? Okay. Anybody want to move on this?
I move that we approve the MOU with MEA for comprehensive distance learning.
I second that.
No, that's why you were on mute, but I thought, okay, James moved to accept the MOU agreement with the MEA and Patience seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Melissa says aye via text.
Passes 5-0. Division 22 report.
Okay, so Division 22 is every year we have to report out to the community that we are following the operating procedures and rules lined up by the state of Oregon and under OAR 581-022-2305. And so then this year, because of COVID and the spring kind of shut down, they've narrowed the focus of many of these requirements. And so you will be pleased to know that after some adjustments that we've made in previous years, we are in compliance with all of the required Division 22 requirements for the 2019-2020 year. So last year. Some of you are probably wondering who've been with this a while. I was like, don't we deal with this later in the year? The state shifted the deadline closer to the previous year because you're always reporting on last year in February, and it didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. So that's where we're at with Division 22. Thinking ahead, though, I do want to give you guys a heads up that we might be, for this year, depending on how things go, we might end up a little shy on our hour requirements. And so what does that mean is we'll go through and we'll mark ourselves as out of compliance, we'll be honest, and then we'll have a solid plan of how we're going to ensure that for that next year we will be in compliance. And I'm really betting strong on no wildfire and some sort of resolution to COVID-19, but that's a little optimistic as well. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that might be a place this year, this current year, where we might find ourselves talking about being out of compliance in next October. So I'm supposed to present this to you before November 1st. It'll be published to the community via our website November 1st, and then it has to be submitted to the Department of Ed by November 15th.
So Lane, what are the ramifications of falling short with our educational hours for students? Are there any?
Typically, it'll be just reporting that we're out of compliance and then having a plan to ensure that we don't do that again.
It's a slap on the wrist to us, not to the students. The students aren't penalized. No. Okay.
No.
I had a question, Lane. If I understand correctly, I may be completely wrong, but short of hours, instructional hours for the students, correct?
Yep.
And then does that mean we just started a new school year? Does that mean we burned through our snow days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we get to the calendar, I'll explain some of the hours that we can still count in. So I'm not saying that we're for sure gonna end up. I just want to give you a heads up that we might.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of my.
Okay.
Supposed to give you guys a.
Thank you.
That could happen, but yeah, let's. So there's, any other questions about Division 22 next? We're supposed to be following all of them for this year. It should be the full list, but with how things are going, they might come up with another abbreviated list. So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Lane on the Division 22?
Just that we won't be the only ones.
I'm sure.
Probably not. No Snowmageddon this year.
Correct.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to say that out loud?
I can't make any guarantees. You do know it's a La Nina year.
Okay, and Lane, I guess revised school district calendar.
We still didn't vote on that one. I move we accept the Division 22 report to the community as presented.
I'll second.
I'll second. Ooh.
Okay. So James moved to pass the division, or to accept the Division 22 report. Patience seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye as well.
Very nice. Now revised school district calendar.
Yeah, so this has been interesting, and we've kind of gone around with different ideas, but I think the cleanest, because of the unprecedentedness of the times we are currently in, that instead of shifting the quarters and adding back days right now, that we just move our start date to the 28th and then keep our end date as the 17th of June. You know, looking at, we were supposed to start on the 8th. So there's 3 weeks of lost classroom time. And to be honest, as we've been trying to build out connections for students who have been displaced and who have been really heavily impacted, there's been a couple of these yellow weeks that have been kind of spotty as well. All the work that we did leading up to the start of the year, ODE granted kind of a broader exemption this year for what you can count as instructional hours. So some of that work that we were doing leading up to it, we can count teacher time. We'll be able to keep counting things like conferences, and looking at the calendar where we're at. I think keeping the normalcy of the traditional end of the quarters and our breaks, and not taking back spring break or going to school until July. I think that'll go a long way in healing and moving forward. But if we feel like we need to make a change as the year goes on, or if we feel we're in a good place, we're in a good clip, we want to reclaim some of that time, we can certainly do that. That's your guys' prerogative. We just work with the associations to make sure that they know what's coming.
So would it, oh yeah, I'm on mute. Would it be worth assuming we're going to extend a little bit, knowing we can always back off? And because I think if we go late in the year and then we decide to extend, it's going to be received a little less kindly. Does that make sense?
Any other thoughts on that vein?
I kind of think, staff will, I think it's such unprecedented as we've been saying times that, I think we can say whatever we want right now, and they all know it's going to change or may change just depending on what happens with COVID at this point and, communication. So I don't know, Lane, do you just tell staff this is the way we're going to do it, but be prepared. We might extend or we might change some things.
Yeah, I think, officially adopting this as a start, and then knowing our staff, if it's been really refreshing how excited they are just to be with kids and work with kids and get to the do. They're not, like a lot of districts I'm hearing, folks are having a hard time wanting to be on site and working from campus, and our staff is saying, let us come to work, let us be in our rooms, let us do the things we want to do. So I imagine, if there's going to be a driver asking for that, it'll be from staff, honestly. We got such a good team that, looking out, they'll know if they've had enough time to get what they need to get across, and if they don't feel like it is, they'll advocate. So I do think, adopting something so it's there, and then starting those conversations of, what do we want to bump out? We can do that, and there's still time to re-adopt. This would only be what did Nancy, is this the third or fourth version of our calendar so far?
At least the third.
This year. We've adopted this. I think it's the third or fourth calendar we've adopted so far.
So I guess to clarify, I'm not so concerned about the teachers with being in agreement to some extension. I'm thinking more of the parents and the students. I think students are going to have a harder time late in the year saying, we're going to add 10 days on. Parents too, because, at that point, we heard it last year, at least the concern was last year, people were planning vacations, planning this, planning that, and then things changed. I'm thinking more of that aspect.
And I would echo James, but I was actually thinking it from a teacher's perspective when they start to plan when their summer break is, because I do believe they all get let go for 3 months, whatever that window is. If you anticipate extending that, now would be the time in order for them to make plans for their summer break, the teachers. So that would be my only comment on that. But I would also.
Yeah, even if we chose to let them out a little bit early, it's still a benefit to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I do agree too, though, Lane, in keeping the quarters together, keeping the normal vacations together. Anywhere you can keep life normal, I think that would be a good place to do it. Holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving, those holiday vacations are status quo. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Could just go to school 5 days a week and.
No. Then you'll really get a revolt.
So then what I'm hearing is that we'd like to add time to the end of the year.
I've always said, I think I've said it before in the board meetings, we're going to one of the meetings up in Portland. I think Tim was there, and I remember one of the keynote speakers, this is back when Jim was around, one of the keynote speakers talked about how Oregon already has one of the fewest hours in this nation for number of hours of education. And, we're sitting there as a board saying, it's okay if we go a little bit short. So again, me personally, I think if we're already short and then we're going to make it shorter, how are our students ever going to be leading the nation if they're not getting the educational time?
But we didn't make it shorter. There was a really big.
I understand that, but we have some control and some say over this aspect, and we didn't on that.
Yeah.
Again, this is my perspective. I think Elaine made a good point. There's 5 of us here now, but it's a group consensus.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a goal that we could work towards in the future. It's obviously this year's probably the wrong time to do that, but I know, James, you and I have talked a lot about the hours and what that means for our kids, but that might be a nice goal to work on for next school year or the following school year.
So is that goal in the following school year, the next school year, just to meet our minimum, or is it again?
I think, next school year would be, I mean, relative to ours, it'd be a normal year, presumably.
Yeah.
Hopefully this end 2020, get into 2021.
Yeah.
So if we have a big snowstorm and we do miss another week of school, does that mean we're tacking on another week of school? Or are we just not going to meet our minimums? Can you answer that, Ray?
Yeah, we'd have to crunch the numbers again to get our actual hours and see where we'd be at. But I think, at this point, I think we would need to. And maybe that's just what we communicate is this is the calendar now. If we have any more inclement weather and shutdown, then we'll have to make sure to add it in, because it's getting fairly thin right now.
I think that's the way you can present it too. I mean, you could add a couple of days right now, and then people can plan for them. But if we, like Patience says, if we have a snowstorm, you'd be outing a couple more and then a couple of more. So I think I'm fine either way. If you guys want to add a couple of days now, I'm fine with that too. But for sure, we'd have to if we have a snowstorm or something.
So does the board want to take this calendar and have Lane rework it to add a couple days, or accept as is? And either way, do we have to actually, if we accept, we have to motion that, but to change it, we just send you back with that, Lane? to come back in November?
Yeah, I think so. Since it's not a motion on it, you just kind of table the item, I think, until next meeting.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board on that?
Again, I think it needs to be tabled. If it's me, I do think we need that extra time. I'm not an optimist this year in regards to the weather.
Right.
If nothing else, stuff can come down and close the highway for a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just a landslide.
It's not just snow. Yeah, this is a year of, as Lane said, unprecedented. It's unprecedented. So,
I mean, even now the highway is delayed half an hour in different places. Okay. So is the board okay with tabling this till the next time we meet? And then Lane rework it a little bit? Okay, that's what
I would like.
Okay, all right,
yeah, I'm in favor of that.
you're good. And Lane, you're good with that? Cool, okay. That finishes our action items.
There's 3 more.
Nice
look at
job,
them, Tim.
Lane.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Patience, I cut you off.
School
Oh,
board.
you're fine. I was just gonna, nice job on the calendar, Lane.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not fun doing those. Sorry to.
Do you guys like the new format though?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's got more
All right, school board comments.
I'll go first since nobody else is. I have a couple of things. The first one is the video. I saw a McKenzie school video today on Facebook. I thought it was really well done. I don't know who put that all together, but they did a great job. I was going to ask Lane and Tim if there was any thought or conversation, or if it has not already happened and I just didn't see it because I've been avoiding the news because it's just better for me that way, about the fire impact around the school itself. So I heard a few things from Lane this evening about the bus barn. I've had some pictures from the school, but the damage to the trees and the grandstands, those are all things that I think alumni and parents that may have not heard of or seen. And then Belfour being on scene in order to make repairs. So that made quick work, and we're focusing our efforts on getting the school back up and running, and all those items repaired, I think is huge, and would love to see a video about that. I also wanted to make a request or make an observation about the communications infrastructure for the school and the kids. Lane brought this up in his report this afternoon, and it really, what I'm looking for is, I think we talked about this, providing a way ahead for parents, family, and community members that want to support the students and their connectivity to learning, and showing them what's available to them as resources in our community. Maybe that's a one-page FAQ, or maybe that's one of those nice Facebook videos, because it is that day and age where everybody's overwhelmed with reading. And maybe it's just an opportunity for the school board or Lane to do a short video and put it on the Facebook bulletin board for parents to see about the OIG assets, the Verizon assets, and the community hub or areas that we're considering for school learning areas. So those are the 3 things I had.
Other comments?
It's too late to think. I will say real quick, thank you to everybody at school for everything you are doing out there. I know, again, beyond the students, I think, I know Lane mentioned what the county's doing there with Red Cross, everything they're doing to support the community beyond just our students. Yeah, I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
All right. I'd like to again welcome Elaine to the board. Lane, I know I say this almost every board meeting, but please let the staff know that everything that's been going on, they're an incredible staff. Our future agenda, our next regular board meeting is November 18th, third Wednesday in November. And then anybody want to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Patience looks like she seconds.
I second it.
James moved to adjourn our meeting. Patience seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Good job, everybody. Glad to see all you guys again. It's been a while.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tim. Thanks, Lane.
Thanks, Tim. Bye, Lane.
Goodbye. Nice to meet you all.
Everybody.